As a new Muslim, I found it very difficult. The reason being was there was definitely a lack of education on my part and a lack of community from the Muslims around me. Not because that there wasn't, but because I had been a non-Muslim my whole life. I never had any Muslim friends, never had any Muslim family. So I've just accepted this religion of Islam, and subhanAllah, I had literally had, only the Quran to work with and literally YouTube. And the problem is you get a bit of information here, a bit of information here, a bit of information here, but no strong foundational level. So this for me was definitely a difficulty, and I didn't realize how difficult it was until I had a debate with the materialists about the existence of God. I was adamant and determined that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala existed, yet I didn't know how to actually articulate it properly. And because this gentleman was very, very educated in the field of science, he was able to actually put me on the back foot and make me question my own belief. Now, this hindered my Iman. As a new Muslim with no strong foundations, I felt weak and I felt that maybe I'm not on the right path. And that's when I made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah, I remember it to this day. I remember actually being on my knees and begging Allah, please, please, please send me knowledge. I need to know. I need to know, yeah, like more about Islam, how to practice, and I just had this intrinsic desire to learn more. And anyways, after making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this advert actually came up on my phone. It was a YouTube advert for the Why Islam is True course. And I could definitely tell that this was a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I didn't waste any time and I just signed up straight away. And I actually completed this course. And after I completed this course, my foundational levels had literally gone from nothing to unbreakable. I didn't realize how true Islam actually was until I took this course. And actually, I would roughly say about a year later, I actually bumped into the same person, the same materialist that I had previously spoken to. And we went back into the same conversation of God's existence. And now I had such a strong foundational level and had very, very strong arguments for God's existence. I actually posed these to the atheist, and alhamdulillah, it definitely made him think about his own beliefs. And he's not a Muslim yet, but inshallah he's definitely thinking about Islam more now and thinking about God's existence, because he didn't actually know that it was logical to believe in God. He thought that belief in God was like belief in fairies, and it was illogical. But after what I learned from Basira education, I definitely improved um, my articulation of why Islam is true. Before I actually took the Why Islam is True course, I definitely struggled with my faith in Islam, because people would often ask me questions that I didn't know how to answer. After taking the Why Islam is True course, it actually gave me 100% certainty in my religion, and now I'm actually much better at answering those questions. Alhamdulillah. So I think for new Muslims and converts, it's very, very difficult, because there's a lot of information, and Islam, you can study Islam for a lifetime. And the problem is, if you don't actually have strong foundations, then your Islam can be very, very weak. Um, and a lot of Muslims, they get drowned in a lot of new Muslims can get drowned in this overwhelming amount of information. What I found beneficial for myself and for my students of the Why Islam is True course is that it gives them an opportunity and a chance to actually learn the foundational levels of why Islam is true, and I'll give them 100% certainty. Some of the students that I've taught have actually, in the beginning, they had a lot of questions for me and they struggled to accept some of the statements that I've said. But after a couple of lessons, things began to digest, and they began to realize, and I've since had loads of messages from my students to say, Alhamdulillah, I never knew that Islam was so logical. I feel so uplifted, my iman has been boosted. So it definitely, you know, like, even stronger than iman, like your iman being boosted, because we all get iman boost from, you know, watching lectures, reading Quran, you know, going to the khutbah, and these things, they sometimes give us a little bit of a spiritual boost. But what I think is that when we teach the Why Islam is True course, it gives more than just an iman boost. It gives a level. It gives you a level of certainty that you can always fall back on, because iman definitely goes up and down. This is the natural trait of the Muslim. But once you have those foundational levels of knowledge of why Islam is true, then it doesn't matter if your iman goes up or if your iman goes down. You can always fall back on, you know, those foundational levels. We run a new Muslim halaqah to support new Muslims in the masjid, and we've seen a lot of new Muslims come and go, unfortunately. And so after a few meetings, we always think about how we can keep and retain these Muslims. And after I did this, what the Why Islam is True course, I knew 100% that this is something I had to bring to these students. And the reason why was the it's all based on Quran and Sunnah, and that the also the comparison of every single worldview, because you're not just looking at why Islam is true, but you're also looking at why every other worldview cannot be true. So you're only left with one option, which is Islam. So when I understood that Islam is the truth, but not only Islam is the truth, but these other worldviews such as polytheism, you know, like Christianity, and also you know, materialism, why they actually are false. This is definitely something that I wanted to bring to the converts, because they're coming from a life of probably materialism. They're probably coming from a life of no God, and it can be easy to fall back into that. So telling them why Islam is true is one thing, but also explaining why the other beliefs are false is another, and it just adds to it. I began teaching this course to the new Muslim circle, and in the beginning, they definitely had their boat rocked, let's say, because they had this conception of what life is, and there was a big challenge for that, and they struggled to take it on. But what I found was, as we progressed through the course, the students then began messaging me and saying, "Subhanallah, I never actually knew that Islam was based on logic and was based on reason." And there's definitely been a change in the reverts that have attended the course from the beginning to now. They've definitely you know, had that realization once they've completed the course, that not only Islam is true, but like I say, why the other worldviews are actually false. Some have just taken their shahada maybe a month ago. So the problem there is, when you're teaching Islam, I say a problem, they maybe lack a little bit of confidence. So when we're explaining some of the modules, they don't, they're a little bit shy to ask questions sometimes. I've definitely noticed a progression with the students though. In the beginning, they were maybe a little bit shy, or a little bit didn't want to say something that was wrong. And as you know, the course has progressed, and I've given them time to reflect and digest some of the lessons, they've actually thought about it more deeply, and now they're coming to me with questions, alhamdulillah. So it's definitely brought them on a long way. Some
Okay.
of them have had like problems with dealing with their parents, because their parents are maybe strict Catholics, and they were very disappointed that their son, two sons actually, because there's a pair of brothers that, mashallah, has joined the course, that accepted Islam. Funny enough, one of the brothers I actually used to go to school with. So we were in the same science class together in school back when we were both atheists in school, subhanallah. And now he somehow ended up in the masjid with me. Alhamdulillah. That's one big thing actually for me since taking this course is alhamdulillah, like having those conversations with my students outside of class, and they've just like said to me like, wow, that was so iman boosting, like I just like want to go and read Quran. That for me is such an amazing feeling, and it definitely helps me, you know, keep going and study harder and try and become a better teacher, because I've also learned a lot as well about teaching, because I'd had no previous experience teaching a class of any kind, really. So through doing this course, like, it's brought me personally. It's brought me along with personal development and teaching. So yeah, alhamdulillah, I can't complain.